Hi, my dear friends. Welcome back to our English learning channel. I'm so happy you are here with me again today. My name is Sarah, and I hope you are sitting somewhere comfortable, maybe on your chair, maybe on your bed, or maybe you are walking outside with your earphones in. Wherever you are, I want you to take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and let your mind become calm. Today we are going to spend some time together practicing English in a very easy, natural, and friendly way. I will speak slowly, softly, and clearly so you can understand every word, and I will guide you through a long listening practice that will help you feel more confident when you speak English in real life. Many people feel nervous when they listen to English, but the more you listen, the more comfortable you become. So in this video, I want you to listen like you are listening to a friend telling you a story. No stress, no pressure, no fear. Just calm listening. Today's listening practice is called A5 English Listening Practice for Better Speaking, and in this long session we will walk together step by step through a simple story, easy explanations, helpful vocabulary, and natural English expressions that you can use in your everyday life. Everything is slow. Everything is simple. Everything is friendly. And you don't need to understand every single word. Just follow the meaning, follow the feeling, and let the language enter your ears naturally. I know many of you listen while doing small tasks, like cleaning your room, cooking a meal, or traveling on the bus. If that's you, don't worry. Just relax and enjoy. This video is made so you can listen and learn without feeling tired or lost. You know, every time I start a new English practice with you, I like to imagine all of you around the world listening at the same time. Some of you are students, some of you are workers, some of you are parents, some of you are young children learning English for the first time. But we are all here for one simple reason: to improve our English step by step. And that makes me very happy, because learning English is not only about speaking the language. It is about opening the door to a bigger world, new ideas, new opportunities, new friendships, and new experiences. And I want to make this journey as easy and enjoyable as possible for you. So, let me tell you why today's practice is special. Today, I will share a story from my own life. A simple real-life moment that helped me understand something very important about learning English. It is a moment that many of you will connect with because it is something we all feel at some point. It is the feeling of wanting to speak English well, but sometimes feeling shy or unsure or afraid of making mistakes. In this story, I will take you with me as I walk through a day that changed the way I think about learning languages. And in the next sections, we will break down the vocabulary, practice listening again, and learn small but powerful techniques that will help you speak English better every day. But for now, in this first section, I want to set the scene gently. Imagine that you and I are sitting together in a quiet room. Maybe we are having a warm cup of tea. Maybe there is soft sunlight coming through the window. Outside, the world is busy, but inside, we are calm. You are listening to my voice, and I am speaking slowly for you. This is your time, your space, your moment to grow. I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel supported. And I want you to know that you can learn English, even if you feel slow sometimes. Slow is okay. Slow is natural. Slow is good. We learn step by step, just like walking, one foot in front of the other. You can learn English the same way, one word, one sentence, one story, one day at a time. Now, let's talk a little bit about what we will explore today. In this long practice, you will hear simple stories that sound like real life. The words are easy. The sentences are short, and the ideas are clear. You will hear natural expressions that English speakers use every day, so when you speak with real people, you will feel more ready and more confident. You will hear feelings, thoughts, and small daily experiences that are easy to understand, but full of meaning. And one more thing, you don't need to repeat everything while listening. Just relax. But if you want to repeat, you can. If you want to shadow my voice, you can. If you just want to listen quietly, that is also perfect. This is your learning space, and you can learn in the way that feels best for you. Let me bring you into the beginning of today's story. I will not tell the full story yet, just a little hint, a small introduction to make you curious and help you stay focused. Last year, I had a very interesting experience with a friend who was trying to learn English for her new job. She felt very shy when she spoke, and she often told me that she was afraid to make mistakes. One day, something happened that changed her attitude completely. It was a small moment, but it opened a big door for her. And when you hear it, I think it will open a small door in your mind too. But before we go deeper into the story, let me gently guide you into the listening mood. I want you to imagine the morning of the day when everything began. Picture a quiet street. The sun is rising. Birds are making soft sounds. The air is cool. The world is waking up slowly. And in this calm morning, I am preparing to meet my friend. I don't know yet what will happen. I don't know that this day will become important. I just know that we have planned to meet for coffee and talk about her English journey. At that moment, I was relaxed. I was not thinking about anything special. I was just walking to the little cafe near my home, enjoying the gentle morning breeze and thinking about how to help her feel more confident. As I walked, I noticed a small dog on the street, wagging its tail happily. I smiled because little things like that always make the morning feel brighter. The cafe was not far, just a few minutes from my home. And the whole time I was walking, I was thinking about how many people feel the same way as my friend. Nervous about English, worried about speaking, afraid of understanding nothing. And maybe you have felt like that too. Maybe you have sat in a classroom or a meeting listening to someone speak English, and you felt your mind become confused. Maybe you wanted to say something in English, but suddenly your words disappeared. Maybe you understood some parts, but not the whole thing. And maybe you thought, why is it so hard for me? If you have ever felt like this, please don't worry. It happens to everyone. Even to me when I learned another language. That's why today's practice is so important. It will help you see learning English in a new, more gentle way. When I reached the cafe, I saw my friend already sitting at a corner table. She looked tired, like she didn't sleep well the night before. She waved at me with a small smile, but her eyes looked worried. I sat down and we ordered 2 warm drinks. She looked at her cup for a long moment, then she finally spoke. Her voice was soft and low. She told me she had an important meeting coming soon at her new job, and she needed to speak English in that meeting. She said she felt so nervous that her hands were shaking. I listened carefully, and I placed my hand on hers to comfort her. I told her she was not alone. I told her we would practice together, slowly and gently, and she would be ready. But before I tell you what happened next in that cafe, I want to remind you of something important. English is not about perfection. English is not about speaking fast. English is not about sounding like a native speaker. English is about connection. It's about communication. It's about expressing your ideas, your feelings, your thoughts, your experiences. Even if your grammar is not perfect, even if you make small mistakes, even if your accent is different, you can still speak English well, and people will understand you. So please, don't be too hard on yourself. You are learning, and learning takes time. My friend didn't know this yet. At that moment, she thought she needed to be perfect. She thought every mistake made her look weak. And that is why she felt so afraid. But as we talked, something happened that completely changed her mind. And in the next section, I will tell you exactly what that moment was. It is a moment that surprised both of us. A moment that showed her that mistakes are not a problem. They are part of learning. For now, take another deep breath. Let the story settle in your mind. Let the calm atmosphere stay with you. Feel the gentle flow of the English words. You're doing great. You are improving right now just by listening. So now, let's continue our story from where we left off. You remember I told you that I met my friend at a small cafe near my home. She was sitting in the corner, looking tired and worried, holding her warm cup with both hands like she needed the heat to calm her nerves. The morning light was coming through the window, touching her face softly, but even that gentle light could not hide her stress. When I sat down, she greeted me with a small smile, but I could feel her worry immediately. It was almost like her worry was sitting beside her, taking up space at the table. I smiled at her and took a sip of my drink, trying to make the atmosphere feel relaxed. I didn't want her to feel like this was a serious English lesson or something scary. I just wanted her to feel safe. After a few moments, she took a deep breath and finally told me what was on her mind. She said that she had an important meeting coming up in 2 days at her new job. In that meeting, she had to speak in English, introduce herself, explain her work, and answer questions. She said she was so nervous that she couldn't sleep the night before. I listened carefully, nodding gently, trying not to interrupt her. I could see her eyes becoming a little watery, not because she wanted to cry, but because she felt overwhelmed. You know that feeling, right? When something important is coming, and your mind keeps replaying the moment again and again, and you keep thinking, what if something goes wrong? What if I make a mistake? What if people laugh? What if I forget everything? That feeling can make your heart beat fast and make your hands cold. My friend felt exactly like that. And maybe you have felt it too. Maybe you had a presentation or a class or a job interview or even a conversation with someone who speaks English very well. And maybe your mind became blank and you thought, maybe I can't do it. If you have ever felt that way, I want you to know something important. It is normal. Everyone feels this at some point. Even native speakers feel nervous sometimes when they talk in important situations. Nervousness means you care. Nervousness means you want to do well. It does not mean you are weak. When my friend finished speaking, she looked at me like she was waiting for a solution, waiting for a magic answer, waiting for something to make her fear go away. I smiled softly and told her, "It's okay. We will practice together. We will take it step by step. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be clear. And you can do that." She shook her head slowly and said she still felt afraid. She said she had been watching English videos, reading English texts, and practicing sentences alone, but still she felt like she was not ready. I leaned back in my chair and asked her, "Can you tell me exactly what makes you nervous?" She took a moment to think. She said she was afraid that she wouldn't understand what people in the meeting were saying. She was afraid that they might speak too fast. She was also afraid that if someone asked her a question, she wouldn't know how to reply quickly. In her mind, English was like a storm of words moving too fast, and she felt like she was standing outside the storm, unable to enter. I understood her completely. When you learn a new language, listening is often the hardest part. Speaking is difficult, yes. But listening can be a challenge because you cannot control how fast people talk. You cannot control which words they use. You cannot control the speed, the accent, the rhythm. You just receive the language, and sometimes it feels like too much. So I told her something very important. I told her that listening is not about understanding every word. Listening is about understanding the meaning and catching the important parts. Even native speakers do not catch every word sometimes. They use context. They use tone. They use the big picture. And she can do the same. As we were talking, something interesting happened at the cafe. At the table next to us, two people were having a conversation in English. They were foreigners visiting the city, and they were speaking naturally, fast, with normal, everyday expressions. My friend looked at them suddenly. I could see her eyes widen. She whispered to me, "See? That's what I'm scared of. I don't understand anything they are saying." I listened carefully to the two people. They were not saying anything difficult. They were just talking about where to go next, what food they wanted to try, and how warm the weather was today. I gently told my friend, "Don't worry. You don't need to understand everything. Just listen for the general idea." But she shook her head again. She said the words were too fast, too connected, too unclear. She told me she felt even more nervous now. And then the surprising moment happened. While the two people were talking, one of them suddenly dropped their phone on the floor. It made a small sound. My friend, who was sitting behind them, instinctively reached down, picked it up, and handed it back to the person. She said, "Here you go," in simple, natural English. The person smiled and said, "Thank you so much." My friend smiled back. It was a short moment, maybe just 3 seconds, but something interesting happened. Her voice was clear. Her pronunciation was natural. Her reaction was fast. And most importantly, she didn't think, she just spoke. There was no fear, no nervousness, no overthinking. Her English came out naturally because her mind didn't have time to be scared. When the moment passed, I looked at her and said, "See, you can speak. You just spoke perfectly. You responded quickly and naturally." But my friend looked surprised. She said, "But that was easy. That was not real English speaking. That was just helping someone." I smiled because I knew she wasn't understanding the important part. So I told her slowly, that is exactly what real English speaking is, connecting with people in simple moments. Real speaking is not always long sentences. It is not always difficult vocabulary. Sometimes real English is just a simple sentence said at the right time. She paused, thinking deeply. Then I saw something change in her eyes, a small spark of realization, like maybe she was beginning to understand that she was not as weak as she thought. She wasn't terrible at English. She wasn't slow. She wasn't behind. She was simply scared. And fear is normal, but fear is also something we can change. I continued speaking softly, so she would not feel pressured. I told her that the reason she spoke well in that moment was because she wasn't trying to be perfect. She wasn't thinking about grammar. She wasn't thinking about mistakes. She wasn't thinking about accents. She was only thinking about helping someone. And when her focus changed, her English became natural. She leaned forward and whispered, "So, when I don't think too much, I speak better?" I nodded slowly.
Yes.
When you relax your mind, your English flows more easily. When you stop trying to be perfect, you become more natural. The cafe around us felt warm and cozy. The quiet background music was playing softly. People were chatting, laughing, enjoying their morning drinks. And in the middle of all this, my friend was beginning to see her English journey differently. She looked at her hands. She looked at her drink. She took another deep breath. She seemed calmer now, like some of the heavy weight from her heart had slowly started to lift. I wanted to help her even more, so I asked her a simple question. What if you think of your English meeting not as a test, but as a conversation? What if you imagine that the people in the meeting are just normal people who want to understand you, not judge you? She looked up, surprised by the suggestion.
She said she never thought of it that way.
She always saw the meeting like a big exam where every mistake would be counted. I told her something that I want you to remember too. Most people in the world are kind. Most people want to communicate. Most people don't care if your English is perfect. They care about your meaning, your message, your honesty, your effort. No one is sitting there waiting for you to fail. People are usually patient. They wait. They listen. They understand. And in her case, her coworkers would also try to help her if she needed support. She wasn't alone. She sat back, thinking deeply. Then she asked me slowly, "Do you think I can really do it?" I looked at her with a warm smile and said, "Yes, I believe you can. But even more important, you must believe it too." She nodded slowly, the smallest smile forming on her lips. That was the moment I saw her confidence beginning to grow, like a small seed inside her mind starting to open. But our story doesn't end here. Something even more powerful happened next. And it wasn't inside the cafe. It happened outside, when we stepped into the sunlight, walked down the street, and met someone unexpected who taught her a lesson she would never forget. After we finished our warm drinks at the cafe and talked for a long time, my friend finally began to look a little more relaxed. Her shoulders were softer, her breathing was calmer, and the worry in her eyes was no longer as strong as before. She wasn't completely confident yet, but she looked like she was ready to continue, ready to try, ready to take one more small step forward. And that was already a big change. Sometimes confidence doesn't arrive all at once like a huge wave. Sometimes it arrives quietly, slowly, like a little light inside your heart that becomes brighter every minute. We stood up from our table, picked up our bags, and walked outside. The sunlight felt warm on our faces, and the street outside the cafe was starting to get busier. People were walking quickly, cars were passing by, small shops were opening their doors, and the air was filled with the gentle sounds of a normal morning. My friend looked around and said she wanted to walk for a bit, just to clear her mind and breathe. I agreed, and we started walking slowly down the street. While we walked, we talked about normal things, her work, my week, the weather, a funny show we both watched recently. I intentionally kept the conversation soft and simple because I wanted her to feel safe and natural, not stressed or pressured. Sometimes the best way to help someone feel comfortable in English is not to talk about English at all. Sometimes the best way is to just be there with them, sharing simple moments, showing them that speaking is just communication, not a test. As we walked, my friend suddenly stopped in front of a small bookstore. The door was halfway open, and she smiled lightly. She said she hadn't been inside a bookstore in a long time because she had been so busy with work. I told her we could go inside if she wanted, and she nodded with excitement. So we stepped into the little store, and immediately the smell of old paper and fresh ink filled the air. Shelves were packed with books of all colors and sizes. The light inside was soft, almost golden, giving the place a warm and peaceful feeling. My friend walked slowly between the shelves, touching the books gently, reading the titles, smiling at the covers. She looked happy, like the store reminded her of something she used to enjoy but had forgotten because of stress. I followed her quietly, letting her enjoy the moment. As we reached the back of the store, we found a small table with a few chairs. A man was sitting there, looking at a thick book, with reading glasses sitting low on his nose. He looked friendly and gentle, with white hair and a soft expression on his face. When he noticed us standing near the table, he smiled warmly and said, "Good morning." My friend smiled back a little shyly, but she answered, "Good morning," in clear English. The man looked pleasantly surprised, and he asked her, "Are you looking for something special?" His voice was slow, calm, and very clear. My friend looked at me for a moment, like she was unsure if she should answer. I nodded to encourage her. She took a small breath and said, "Just looking. I like books." The man smiled and said, "Books are good friends. They never complain and they always teach you something." We both laughed softly. Then the man looked at my friend and asked, "Are you learning English?" His question was simple, not judgmental, not heavy, just curious. My friend froze for a second. I could see the hesitation in her eyes. Maybe she was worried he would start judging her or testing her. But his expression was so gentle that she finally nodded and said, "Yes, I am trying." The man closed his book and looked at her with kind eyes. He said, "Trying is the most important part. Many people never even try. But you're trying, and that means you're already winning." My friend looked a little surprised at his words. She smiled slowly, like she didn't expect encouragement from a stranger this early in the day. The man asked her what kind of English she wanted to learn. My friend looked down for a moment and then said softly, "I want to speak better. I want to feel more comfortable, but sometimes I feel scared." The man nodded slowly, like he understood exactly what she meant. He said, Yes, fear. Fear is like a small stone inside your shoe. It doesn't stop you from walking, but it makes every step uncomfortable. But when you remove the stone, you realize walking is not so hard." My friend and I both smiled because we understood the meaning. Fear makes everything feel heavier, bigger, more difficult. But when fear is removed, things become simple again. The man continued speaking. "When I was young, I had to learn another language too. I made mistakes every day. Sometimes I felt embarrassed. Sometimes I felt slow. But then one day, an older woman told me something that changed everything." My friend leaned in a little curious. "I did too." The man said, "She told me that mistakes are not holes in the road. They are steps on the staircase. And the only way to go up is to step on them. My friend's eyes widened a little. She whispered the words softly. Steps on the staircase. The man nodded gently.
Yes.
Mistakes help you rise. If you avoid mistakes, you stay in the same place. If you make mistakes, you grow. So don't be afraid of them. Use them. My friend looked deeply touched by his words. I could see something changing in her expression again. She whispered, I always thought mistakes meant I was bad at English. The man smiled and shook his head.
No.
Mistakes mean you are learning. If you were not learning, you would not make mistakes. Only people who do nothing make no mistakes. We stood there in silence for a moment, letting his words settle in the air like warm dust. The bookstore felt even quieter now, peaceful, almost magical. The man then reached behind him and picked up a small book from a shelf. It was a simple book with easy English stories for learners. He handed it to my friend and said, This book is for people learning English. The stories are simple, but the messages are strong. You may like it. My friend held the book gently, like it was something important. She looked at the cover, then at the man, and said in soft English, thank you so much. The man smiled again, and his eyes looked even kinder. He said, You're welcome. And remember, confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build. My friend nodded slowly, repeating the words quietly. Something you build. We chatted with the man for a little longer. He told us he had been running the bookstore for many years. He said people from many countries visited, and he always enjoyed hearing their stories. He said he believed that language connects people and that learning a new language is one of the bravest things a person can do. His words felt like warm sunlight. They made everything feel lighter. After a few minutes, my friend and I said goodbye to him and walked out of the store. As soon as we stepped outside, my friend let out a long breath, like she had been holding it inside for too long. She looked calmer, brighter, more open. She said softly, He was so kind, and he spoke slowly. I understood almost everything he said. I smiled and told her, See? You can understand English. You just need people who speak clearly, slowly, and kindly. Not everyone speaks fast. We started walking again, and suddenly my friend said something that surprised me. She said, I think I want to practice speaking more. Not alone. With people. Real people. I looked at her with happy surprise. This was a big step. She continued, I always thought I needed to speak perfectly before I could talk to anyone. But maybe I just need to talk. Even if it's not perfect. I nodded with a big smile and said, Exactly. Speaking makes you better at speaking. Not perfection. She laughed softly, and her laughter sounded lighter than before, almost like a small bell in the wind. We kept walking, and the street slowly turned into a small open area with benches and trees. A few people were sitting there enjoying the shade. My friend walked toward one of the benches and sat down. I sat next to her. She opened the small book the man had given her and read the first line quietly. Then she said, You know, maybe the meeting next week is not something I should fear. Maybe it's something I can use to grow. This was the moment I had been waiting for. The moment when fear in her mind slowly turned into strength. The moment when she stopped being scared and started being curious. The moment when she realized she was not the weak person she thought she was. She was capable. She was growing. She was learning. But our day didn't end here. Something else happened, something unexpected, something that tested her new confidence immediately. It was not something serious or scary, but it was something real. A real moment with a real person and real English that she had to respond to. In this part of our English listening practice, we're going to slow down, breathe, and focus on something very important: building confidence. Many learners want to speak fast, but fast speaking is not the goal. Clear speaking is the goal. When you speak clearly, people understand you. When people understand you, you feel confident. And when you feel confident, your English improves faster than you can imagine. So in this section, we will talk about confidence, simple daily habits, and friendly practice moments that make your English stronger every day. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning. The room is quiet. You sit up on your bed. You take a deep breath. And you say one simple English sentence to yourself. Today, I will speak slowly and clearly. This small sentence can shape your whole day. You don't need big grammar. You don't need long vocabulary. You just need a calm mind and a clear voice. Let's continue with a short story. There was a man who always wanted to speak English, but he spoke too fast. He believed fast speaking meant good English. But he often made mistakes and people couldn't understand him. One day, he met a teacher who told him, "Slow down." Slow means smooth. Smooth means clear. And clear means confident. Those words changed his speaking forever. He practiced one simple technique: pause after every idea. Not after every word, after every idea. For example, instead of saying everything quickly, he said, "I like learning English."
Pause.
It helps me at work.
Pause.
It makes me feel confident. That simple technique made his speaking sound natural. Now, let's do a mini listening practice. I will say a few simple sentences slowly. Just listen.
Don't repeat yet.
I am learning English every day. I speak with confidence. I do not rush. I take my time. My voice is calm and clear. Now, if you want to repeat, you can. Repeat after me slowly. I am learning English every day. I speak with confidence. I do not rush. I take my time. My voice is calm and clear. Very good. Remember, you and your English are not in a race. There is no competition.
There is no finish line.
Learning a language is like walking through a beautiful garden. You move slowly. You enjoy the moment. And as you walk, you grow. In your daily life, try doing one simple exercise. Speak one full sentence every morning. Just one. It can be something like, "I will have a good day today," or "I want to learn new words," or "I am happy to practice English." This is your confidence starter. This is your warm-up. When you choose simple sentences and speak them slowly, your English becomes stronger because your mind stays relaxed. A relaxed mind learns better. A relaxed mind listens better. A relaxed mind speaks better. Another confidence tip is this: do not worry about mistakes. Mistakes are a sign of progress. Every mistake shows that you tried, and every time you try, you become better. Imagine you are learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you fall. Then you try again, and again. And then one day, you can ride without thinking. English works the same way. Here is another listening exercise. Listen to these thoughts. Let them feel natural. I am improving every day. It is okay to make mistakes. I speak clearly. I learn slowly, but I learn well. Repeat them if you want to. Finally, when you practice English, smile. A smile relaxes your face muscles. A relaxed face helps you pronounce words more clearly. And clear pronunciation builds confidence. So before you speak, smile a little. Take a breath. And speak softly. In this section, you learn that confidence does not come from speaking fast. Confidence comes from speaking calmly. Confidence comes from small daily habits. Confidence comes from simple, clear sentences. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. You just need to try.
And you're already doing that right now.
In this part of our long English listening practice, I want you to imagine something very simple, but very powerful. Imagine yourself sitting in a calm and quiet place, maybe by a window, maybe in your room, maybe in a peaceful corner where nothing is rushing you. You take a slow breath in and a slow breath out, and in that moment your mind feels open and relaxed. This calm feeling is important because when you feel peaceful inside, listening becomes easier and speaking becomes more natural. Many English learners feel nervous when they hear fast sentences or when someone suddenly speaks to them in English. Their heart beats faster, their mind freezes, and they feel worried that they will not understand or will make a mistake. But today we are going to train your mind to stay calm because a calm mind learns better than a stressed mind. Let me tell you a small story to help you understand this. There was a woman who worked in a very busy office where everyone spoke English all day. She understood some words, but when people talked quickly, she felt nervous. She always thought, "My English is not good enough." One day, she told her friend about her problem, and her friend gave her a simple but helpful idea. Her friend said, "Do not try to hear every word. Just listen for the important words." The next day, she tried this. When someone spoke to her, she did not push herself to understand the whole sentence. Instead, she listened for the key words, the main idea, the feeling of the sentence. Slowly, she started understanding more and more. And because she understood more, she became calmer. Her confidence grew day by day, and her English improved naturally. Now, I want you to practice the feeling of calm listening. Listen slowly to these sentences. You can repeat them if you want. I listen with a calm mind. I hear the important words. I do not stress, I relax. My English becomes clearer every day. Say them gently if you can because speaking slowly helps your mind focus. Even if your pronunciation is not perfect, your effort helps your brain grow stronger. When you listen to English, your body also plays a role. Sometimes when we try too hard, we lean forward, our shoulders lift, and our mind feels pressure. But when you lean back a little, your shoulders loosen, your breathing slows, and your brain becomes ready to receive language more easily. Even simple things like blinking slowly can reduce stress. It gives your brain a short rest while still keeping you alert and comfortable. Now imagine someone asks you a question in English and you don't understand everything. Instead of panicking, you take a soft breath, you relax your shoulders, and you smile gently. You answer with what you know, not what you think you must say. For example, if someone asks, "What did you do today?" you can reply calmly, "I had a simple day. I did some work, nothing special, but it was nice." You don't need difficult words. You don't need long sentences. All you need is a peaceful tone. If someone asks, "How are you today?" you can say, "I'm doing well. I'm a little tired, but I'm okay." Simple, natural, honest. When you speak calmly, the listener also feels calm and the conversation becomes easier. Take one more deep breath now. Let your body soften. Let your mind feel lighter. In this section, you learned that calmness is not just an emotion, but a tool that helps you listen better, understand more, and speak more confidently. The calmer you are, the clearer English becomes. And when English feels clear, you enjoy learning it even more. I want to take you into a very real and familiar moment that many English learners face every day, a moment that can feel simple from the outside, but feels big on the inside. Imagine you are walking through your day, doing normal things, maybe buying something, maybe traveling, maybe checking your phone, and suddenly you hear English around you. Maybe someone speaks to you, maybe you hear an announcement, maybe you hear a conversation near you. Sometimes you understand, sometimes you do not, and sometimes you feel unsure. So today we are going to practice how to stay focused and confident in these everyday moments, because learning English does not only happen in classrooms or long lessons. It also happens in small real-life situations, and those situations can slowly shape you into a stronger listener and a more confident speaker. Let me tell you a story to bring this idea to life. One afternoon, I went to a cafe to meet a friend. The cafe was warm, full of soft music, and filled with people talking quietly. As I waited for my friend, I ordered a drink. The person behind the counter spoke fast, too fast for me at that moment. I heard a few words, but not everything. Instead of panicking, I decided to breathe slowly and listen again. The second time, I understood the important parts, not every single word, but enough to answer. I felt calmer, and the order went smoothly. But then something interesting happened. A tourist came in and stood next to me. He looked confused, even a little worried. When the worker asked him something in English, he froze. His face looked stressed. His shoulders tightened. For a moment, he could not speak at all. I smiled at him, just to help him relax, and he gave a small smile back. After a second, he said, "Sorry, can you say again slowly?" The worker repeated the sentence more slowly. The tourist understood, and everything became easier. That moment taught me something important. You don't need to understand everything instantly. You only need to stay calm and ask for help when you need it. Now I want you to imagine yourself in a similar situation. Imagine you're standing at a counter or sitting in a bus or walking in a shop and someone speaks English to you. Maybe you don't understand the full sentence. Maybe the words sound too fast. Maybe the sound is not clear. Instead of feeling nervous, imagine yourself taking a small breath, relaxing your shoulders, and simply saying, "Can you say that again?" Or "Can you speak a little slower?" These are simple sentences, easy to use, and very powerful. Most people will repeat their words kindly. People respect effort. They respect calm energy. They want communication to work. So, allow yourself to be human. Allow yourself to ask. That is part of learning. Now, let's practice listening inside your mind. Imagine someone telling you, "The bus will arrive in 10 minutes." Imagine the sound of those words. You don't need to catch everything. You only need the key idea. Bus to arrive 10 minutes. Imagine another person telling you, "We open at 9:30 in the morning." Again, you hear keywords. Open 9:30 morning. This is how real-life listening works. You take the main idea, and your mind fills in the rest. You don't need perfect word-by-word understanding to act in daily life. You only need the main meaning, and that is enough. Now, imagine yourself traveling to a new city. You walk past people speaking English. Some words feel familiar. Some words feel new. Some sentences move too fast. Some voices are soft. Some are loud. You hear many accents, many styles of speaking. You might feel a little overwhelmed at first, but then something beautiful happens. Your ears start to adjust. Your brain starts to recognize patterns. You begin to understand not because you memorized rules, but because you are exposed to real, natural English. This is how your listening grows. Not through pressure, but through experience. Take a moment to relax now and listen to this simple sentence. I am learning a little more every day. Let the meaning come to you softly. Listen again. My English is improving slowly and steadily. Listen again. I do not need to rush. I am growing. When you say these words in your mind, something inside you becomes stronger. Your confidence rises slowly, like the morning sun. You begin to trust yourself more. You start to feel that English is not an enemy, not a challenge that hurts you, but a friend that walks with you step by step. There is another thing I want you to imagine now. Imagine yourself speaking to someone in English for the first time in a long time. You take a soft breath, smile gently, and say a simple sentence like, "Hello, how are you?" The person smiles back. You feel a warm feeling inside. You realize that this small success is actually very big for your heart. This is how progress feels. Small moments, small victories, small steps that slowly build a strong foundation inside you. In this section, I want you to remember one important message. Real-life English is not perfect English. People speak fast. People speak slow.
People make mistakes. People repeat themselves.
People forget words. Everyone is human. And that means you don't need to be perfect either. You only need to stay calm, stay open, and keep trying. Your English will grow naturally, just like a small plant grows into a tree with time, sunlight, and patience. I want to take you into a moment that many learners experience when they try to speak English with someone for the first time after a long break. It might be a friend, a coworker, a shopkeeper, or even a stranger, but the feeling inside is the same. Your heart becomes a little faster, your mouth feels dry, and your thoughts start to rush, and you wonder whether your English will come out clearly or not. But today, I want to help you walk through this moment gently and confidently. Imagine you are standing in a simple everyday place, maybe a grocery shop, maybe a bus stop, maybe in your office hallway. Someone looks at you and smiles kindly. They say, "Hi, how are you?" in English. For a second, you feel surprised, but then something magical happens inside you. You remember the calm breathing from the last section. You relax your shoulders and you reply, "I'm good, thank you," in a quiet but steady voice. The person nods and continues speaking with you in a friendly way. You listen, you take in the words, and even if you don't understand everything, you understand enough to respond. That moment becomes a little success inside your heart because you spoke English and the world didn't stop. Nothing terrible happened, and in fact, it felt nice. Let me share a small story to make this feeling even stronger. There was a man who always felt shy about speaking English. He practiced alone at home, but never used English outside. One day, He had to call a customer service number, and the person on the phone spoke English. He felt nervous, but he also knew he had no choice. So he took one small breath and said his first sentence slowly. The person on the phone understood him. They helped him, and by the end of the call, he felt proud. That one moment changed his confidence. After that day, he began speaking English to shopkeepers, taxi drivers, and even strangers. Some days he felt comfortable, some days he felt nervous, but each day he grew a little more confident. His improvement didn't come from perfect grammar. It came from small, brave moments. Now imagine yourself sitting with a friend who also wants to practice English. You start speaking slowly. You use simple sentences. You laugh at your mistakes, and your friend laughs too. Instead of feeling embarrassed, you feel free, because mistakes no longer feel like failures. They feel like small signs of growth. You learn new words from each other. You correct each other kindly. And then you realize something beautiful. English becomes easier when it is shared with someone. When you speak with another learner, you feel safe because you know they understand how it feels. You know they are learning too. And this makes the whole journey warm and friendly. Now take a moment and imagine yourself walking into a room where people are speaking English. The sound feels fast at first, but then slowly your ears adjust. You hear small pieces clearly. You catch familiar words. You follow the rhythm. You don't understand everything, but that doesn't matter. You listen for the feeling. You listen for the main meaning. And even if you miss something, you stay calm because now you know that understanding grows with time, not pressure. You sit in that room with a soft smile, and in your mind, you tell yourself, I'm doing well. I'm learning. I'm improving in my own time. This is how confidence grows, quietly, slowly, day by day. Let's do a small listening exercise now inside your mind. I will say a line in a gentle tone, and I want you to let the meaning come to you naturally. I am learning to trust myself. My English improves when I stay calm. I speak slowly, and that is okay. I am not afraid of mistakes. I grow a little more every day. As you listen to these sentences, imagine them becoming part of you. Imagine them becoming small seeds planted inside your heart. With each practice session, each conversation, each listening moment, these seeds grow. They become confidence. They become clarity. They become strength. And one day, you realize that English does not scare you anymore. Instead, it becomes a familiar friend. Now picture one more moment. Imagine you are traveling, sitting in a train or in an airplane, and the person next to you starts a simple conversation in English. At first you feel a little nervous, but then you remind yourself that you are learning. You smile and answer. Maybe the conversation lasts 1 minute, maybe 10 minutes, but the important thing is that you tried. You used your English in the real world. And that is a beautiful thing. These small conversations, these small experiences, these small brave steps are what make you stronger, not textbooks alone. Real English grows in real life. As you finish this section, I want you to remember one thing deeply. Every small moment of English practice builds you. Every sentence you try, every word you listen to, every mistake you make, everything helps you grow. You do not need perfect English. You need patient English. You need calm English. You need brave English. And you already have that inside you. I want to take you deeper into the idea of building confidence through small, gentle experiences, the kind of experiences that happen quietly in everyday life, but slowly shape your English skills and change the way you feel about the language. Imagine you wake up early in the morning. The sun is soft, the world is quiet, and you start your day with a small plan in your mind. You tell yourself, "Today I will try to listen to a little English." Not a big lesson, not a long study session, just a small moment of English. And you begin by listening to something simple, maybe a short video, maybe a short message, maybe a small conversation from a movie. As you listen, your mind relaxes, and instead of worrying about the words you don't know, you focus on the words you do know. You allow your brain to enjoy the sound rather than fight with it. Little by little, this creates a soft, positive relationship with English inside your heart. Later in the day, you go outside. You walk through your usual streets, but this time your ears feel a little more open. You hear a few English signs or words, maybe on a shop, maybe in a song, maybe in a conversation, and instead of feeling nervous, you feel curious. You think, I understand this word. And even if it's just one word, it gives you a warm feeling inside. That warm feeling is confidence growing quietly. Now imagine yourself sitting at home in the evening. You are tired from the day, but you still want to practice just a little. You open your phone or your laptop and play a short English video. You do not pause it, you do not repeat it again and again, you just listen like you would listen to music. You listen without pressure, without judgment, without trying to catch every sound. You let the language flow past you like water in a river. Some parts touch you clearly, some parts pass by quickly, but the important thing is that your brain is getting used to real English. This simple habit, listening without stress, can make your ears grow stronger faster than any grammar book. When you listen freely, you relax, and relaxation creates space for understanding. Let me tell you a story to show this clearly. There was a young man who wanted to improve his English, but felt overwhelmed by long lessons. So instead of studying hard, he decided to listen to English every night for just 5 minutes. Some nights he understood a lot. Some nights he understood almost nothing. But he kept listening. He didn't worry. He didn't rush. After a few months, something surprising happened. He started recognizing patterns. He started understanding sentences in movies more easily. He started answering small questions more confidently. His mind opened slowly, like a flower that blooms when the sun arrives. This simple routine changed his relationship with English forever. Now, I want you to imagine yourself doing something similar. Imagine that every day, even on the busiest days, even on the most stressful days, you take a moment to listen to English. Maybe while cooking, maybe while walking, maybe before sleeping. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to learn 10 new words. You simply listen. The sound enters your mind and becomes familiar, and familiarity removes fear. Fear becomes comfort. Comfort becomes confidence. Confidence becomes fluency. This is how real language learning works, step by slow step. Now imagine yourself having a conversation with someone in English after building this habit for a few weeks. You greet them with a soft smile. Your voice is steady. Your mind feels calm. You speak slowly but clearly. You don't search for perfect grammar because you know perfect grammar is not the goal. Communication is the goal. Connection is the goal.
And you do connect.
The person understands you. They respond kindly. You enjoy the moment. After the conversation ends, you feel proud. Not proud because you spoke perfect English, but proud because you tried, you succeeded, and you grew. That feeling stays with you, and the next time you speak English, it becomes easier. Take a slow breath now and imagine something else. Imagine that your future self, maybe 1 year from now, is speaking English comfortably. Not perfectly, but comfortably. Picture that version of yourself. Picture their calm expression, their steady tone, their relaxed body language. Picture how natural English feels for them. That future version of you exists. You are walking toward that person every time you listen, every time you speak, every time you breathe calmly during English practice. This journey is gentle and personal. It belongs to you. I want you to imagine a very common but powerful moment in English learning, the moment when you try to speak English in a real-life situation, maybe with a friend, a neighbor, a shopkeeper, or someone you meet while walking, and you feel a mixture of excitement and nervousness. That feeling is completely normal because speaking a new language is a little like stepping onto a small bridge over water. You're not sure if it will hold you, but you know you must cross it to get to the other side. One day, a young woman decided to practice her English in her local park. She saw a family having a picnic and wanted to ask them a simple question about the park, like where the nearest restroom was. At first, her heart beat fast and she thought, "What if they do not understand me?" But she remembered what she had been practicing for weeks: calm breathing, speaking slowly, listening carefully, and smiling. She walked up, took a small breath, and said, "Excuse me, can you tell me where the restroom is?" The family smiled and answered clearly, slowly, in a friendly voice. She understood most of the words and was able to say thank you without hesitation. That one short conversation, which lasted only a few seconds, gave her a warm feeling inside, a sense that she could handle real English outside her home. That feeling is what we want you to experience every day, small victories that build confidence quietly but strongly. Now imagine yourself doing something similar. You are walking into a small store. You need to buy something, and the shopkeeper greets you in English. You feel nervous, but you remember that slow and clear speaking works better than rushing. You take a calm breath and respond naturally. Even if you make a mistake, you smile, and the shopkeeper responds kindly. That one moment teaches your mind a powerful lesson. English is not scary. English is just communication, and people are willing to help. Small moments like this, repeated over days and weeks, slowly train your ears to hear better and your mouth to speak better. You begin to notice patterns in sentences. Familiar words appear more often, and even new words start to feel less intimidating because your mind has learned that mistakes are part of learning, not a reason to stop. Let me tell you a story that shows the power of small practice. There was a man who wanted to travel abroad, but he felt shy about speaking English in public. He started with small steps. At first, he spoke English only in front of a mirror. Then he practiced with a friend at home. Then he practiced by asking simple questions in a quiet store. He made mistakes, sometimes confusing words, sometimes forgetting a phrase, but he never gave up. After a few months, he found himself able to speak clearly to strangers without fear. Not because he had perfect grammar, but because he had practiced small moments consistently, and those moments built his confidence like a staircase, step by step, one small success at a time. This story shows that English fluency is not about rushing or memorizing every word. It is about consistency, patience, and gentle courage in everyday life. Now take a moment to imagine yourself in a quiet place, maybe your room or a park. Picture yourself speaking one simple sentence in English. You do not need perfect grammar. You do not need a long sentence. You just need to speak clearly and calmly. Maybe you say, I like this park, or I want some water, or the weather is nice today. Repeat it slowly in your mind. Feel the words leaving your mouth calmly. Notice how your heart relaxes and your mind opens. Every small sentence you speak like this is like a seed being planted. Each seed grows slowly into confidence. Each seed grows into understanding. Each seed grows into skill. The more seeds you plant, the stronger your English becomes. Finally, imagine the end of a day when you have spoken English a few times, even just a little. You look back and feel proud. You realize that your small steps today created a positive feeling inside. You realize that English is becoming familiar. You realize that mistakes do not stop you, they help you grow. This is the magic of small, consistent practice. Your ears, your mind, and your heart are all learning together. Real English happens not in textbooks alone, but in small moments of listening, speaking, and trying in your real life. That is the lesson I want you to carry with you. The bridge over the water becomes stronger each time you cross it. Your confidence grows quietly, naturally, beautifully. I want you to imagine another moment that is very common for English learners, a moment when you try to understand spoken English in a slightly faster or more complicated situation. Maybe a conversation between two people, a short video, or an announcement. And at first it feels difficult because the words move quickly, the sentences are longer, and your mind tries to catch every single sound. But today I want you to practice a different approach, a calm approach, where instead of trying to understand every word, you listen for the feeling, the main idea, and the important words, because that is how real English works in everyday life. Imagine sitting in a cafe where people are talking around you. Some words you know, some words you do not. Some phrases are familiar and some are completely new, but you take a slow breath, relax your shoulders, and listen carefully. You do not panic if you do not understand everything. You catch the main idea, you smile to yourself, and you try to guess the meaning from context. This simple habit is very powerful because your brain begins to recognize patterns in English naturally, without pressure or stress, and your listening becomes much stronger over time. Let me tell you a story to make this moment clear. There was a young man who loved English, but always felt frustrated when he watched movies or listened to people speaking naturally. The sentences were too fast, the words sometimes unclear, and he felt he understood nothing. One day, a teacher gave him advice. Do not try to understand every word. Listen for the key words, the feeling, and the context. So he tried it. At first, he understood only a few words, but he stayed calm and focused on the main idea. Slowly, he began to understand more, even without knowing every word. He realized that real listening is not about perfection. It is about feeling the language, connecting ideas, and enjoying the process. That lesson changed his learning completely. Now, I want you to practice the same. Imagine a short sentence. The train will arrive in 5 minutes. Instead of worrying about every word, you notice the key words, train, arrive, 5 minutes. You understand the main meaning, and that is enough to act. Imagine another sentence. We open the shop at 9 o'clock. Again, you catch the important words. Open, shop, 9 o'clock.
You do not need the rest.
Your mind fills in the meaning naturally. With this approach, listening becomes enjoyable and less stressful, and your confidence grows. Now imagine yourself in a real conversation where someone speaks more quickly. You feel the initial rush in your heart, but you remember this technique. You focus on the keywords and the main idea, and slowly you begin to follow. You reply calmly, even if you do not catch everything, because your goal is understanding and communication, not perfection. Each successful moment, no matter how small, strengthens your confidence and makes your English feel more natural. Imagine now ending your day after several such moments. You reflect quietly and realize that even if you did not understand every word, you understood enough. You acted in English, you connected with people, and your listening became stronger. That feeling, that quiet sense of progress, is what real learning is about. Mistakes, missed words, and small pauses are part of the process. Every moment of focused listening and calm participation grows your skill, like sunlight growing a tree slowly but steadily. English becomes familiar, comfortable, and your mind begins to trust itself. This is the power of calm, mindful listening. Real improvement is not fast or forced. It is gentle, consistent, and encouraging. I want you to imagine a moment that is very close to real life, a moment when you try to speak English with someone who speaks naturally, maybe a friend, a classmate, a coworker, or even a stranger, and the words feel fast, the sentences feel long, and at first your heart feels nervous and your mind wants to rush. But today I want you to practice a gentle, calm approach. Because real English fluency grows when you stay relaxed and patient with yourself. Imagine you are in a small shop, buying something simple, and the shopkeeper asks, "Do you want this in a small or a large size?" At first, the words feel quick and you feel a little panic, but then you take a slow breath, smile gently, and answer, "Small, please." You do not need to respond perfectly or quickly. The important thing is that you communicate, and that small act of speaking builds your confidence quietly but powerfully. Let me tell you a story to make this clear. There was a woman who wanted to improve her English for work, but every time a customer spoke quickly, she froze. She worried that she would say the wrong thing or not understand, and sometimes she avoided speaking altogether. One day, her teacher said, "It's okay to speak slowly. Speak clearly. Focus on communicating, not perfection." So she practiced this. She began to speak slowly, choosing simple words she knew well. At first, she felt shy, but she kept trying. Slowly, she realized that people understood her, responded kindly, and even corrected her gently when needed. That small practice built her confidence day by day. Eventually, she could speak in more complicated situations without panic. The lesson is simple. Small, calm practice matters more than trying to be perfect instantly. Now, imagine yourself practicing this approach. Picture yourself walking into a cafe, ordering your favorite drink, and listening carefully to the question. You take a breath, reply slowly, and notice how the person responds positively. You might make a small mistake, but you smile, and the conversation continues naturally. That moment, small and simple, builds trust in yourself, and over time, you feel ready for longer conversations, faster sentences, and more challenging situations. Another important idea is that every conversation, no matter how short, teaches you something. Maybe you learn a new word, maybe you hear a new pronunciation, maybe you notice a pattern in a sentence. Every small detail becomes part of your brain's memory. You do not need to remember everything immediately. You only need to be present, listen carefully, and respond calmly. Over days and weeks, these moments add up. Your confidence grows, your listening improves, your speaking becomes smoother. Imagine finishing your day and reflecting quietly. You notice that even small conversations, even tiny successes, feel like a step forward. You feel proud, not because you spoke perfectly, but because you tried, you connected, and you learned. This is the true path of real-life English learning. It is slow, steady, patient, and consistent. Every calm, gentle attempt strengthens your skills. Every mistake, every pause, every small success matters. I want you to imagine a very real moment that many learners experience, a moment when you try to speak English in a slightly longer conversation, maybe with a friend, a teacher, or a stranger. And at first it feels challenging because you are not sure which words to use, how to form your sentences, or how fast you should speak. But today I want you to practice patience and gentle listening because real fluency grows when you take your time, stay calm, and focus on expressing your ideas clearly, not perfectly. Imagine sitting with a friend who also wants to practice English. The conversation begins slowly. You talk about simple things like the weather, your favorite food, or what you did yesterday. Sometimes you pause to think, sometimes you repeat words in your mind before saying them, and sometimes your friend corrects you kindly. At first, you might feel nervous, but then you notice something important. The conversation is moving naturally, and you are able to communicate. That feeling of successfully sharing your ideas, even slowly and with small mistakes, is what builds confidence and fluency. Let me tell you a story to make this moment clearer. There was a young man who wanted to speak English more confidently, but he always worried that he would make mistakes or sound foolish. One day, he joined a small English practice group. The first few conversations were difficult. He forgot words, mixed up sentences, and sometimes had to ask his friends to repeat themselves.
But he kept trying.
He listened carefully, repeated sentences slowly in his mind, and spoke when he was ready. Over time, he noticed that he could follow longer conversations, respond more quickly, and even express new ideas in English without fear. He realized that real fluency was not about perfect grammar or knowing every word. It was about being present, listening actively, speaking calmly, and learning from each moment. Now, imagine yourself doing something similar. Picture yourself sitting with a friend or family member, practicing simple English conversation every day. You might talk about your morning routine, your favorite food, or your plans for the weekend. You listen carefully, respond slowly, and repeat new words in your mind. Sometimes you make small mistakes, but each mistake teaches you something new. With every conversation, your ears grow stronger, your mind grows sharper, and your confidence grows steadily. Even short conversations, when practiced consistently, can create a strong foundation for speaking English in longer and more complex situations. Take a deep breath now and imagine finishing a small conversation successfully. You feel proud, calm, and motivated. You know that with every practice, you are improving. That is the real power of small, gentle, consistent steps in learning English. Remember, it is not about rushing or being perfect. It is about trying, learning, listening, speaking, and growing slowly over time. That I want you to take a moment to imagine yourself looking back on your journey, on all the small steps you have taken, All the moments you practice listening, speaking, and staying calm, and all the tiny victories that may have seemed small at the time but are actually very powerful. Imagine yourself remembering the first time you tried to speak a sentence in English outside your home, the first time you listened to a real conversation and caught a few words, the first time you asked someone to repeat slowly and you understood them, the first time you smiled and said, "I am learning," and it felt good to speak. Every single one of those moments built a little piece of your confidence and your skill, like bricks in a house that you are slowly constructing. You may have felt nervous, embarrassed, or unsure sometimes, and that is completely normal. But look at how far you have come simply by being consistent, patient, and calm. Now imagine your future self, 1 year from now, speaking English in real-life situations comfortably, listening to conversations naturally, responding clearly, making small mistakes without fear, and enjoying the process because you know that learning English is not about rushing or being perfect. It is about showing up every day, taking small steps, and believing in yourself. The lesson I want you to carry from this long listening practice is simple but very important. Real learning happens through gentle, consistent practice, through listening carefully, speaking slowly, staying calm, and celebrating small successes. Mistakes are not failures, they are lessons. Pauses are not weaknesses, they are part of learning. Every moment of attention, patience, and effort grows your English skill quietly but strongly. You can now imagine yourself continuing this journey with a soft smile, enjoying English in daily life, noticing improvements slowly but steadily, and feeling confident in real situations. Thank yourself for the time you have spent practicing, for the effort you have made, and for staying calm and present throughout this journey. English is not just words. It is connection, understanding, and the joy of learning something new every day. Thank you for listening with me today, for practicing, for imagining, and for believing in yourself. Remember, each day you listen, each day you speak, each day you try, you grow. You are capable, you are improving, and you are ready for more English adventures ahead. I hope you enjoyed this long practice, and I encourage you to continue listening, speaking, and practicing gently every day. This is the end of our story, our lesson, and our listening practice. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to practicing English with you again soon. Bye-bye, and keep growing with confidence and calm.